I'm not here to tell you Ozempic is evil. And I'm not here to tell you that it's magic. I'm here to tell you what happens when you stop taking it and why that matters more than the actual weight that you lose. Half the internet thinks it's a miracle, and the other half just think it's cheating. And most fitness coaches out there are either just ignoring the subject completely or using it to push and promote. Today, I'm just going to talk openly and honestly about my opinions on it. Firstly, what is it? There's a lot of potential misinformation out there. Simply, Ozempic is a brand name for a drug called semaglutide. It was approved back in 2017, specifically for people with type 2 diabetes. As a result of taking this, the positive side effect was there was also weight loss. And because of this side effect of weight loss, the internet just lost its mind. The version that's actually approved for weight loss, so Ozempic is the one for type 2 diabetes, Wegovy is the one that you've probably heard of as well, which is the one specified and approved for weight loss specifically. You may also have heard of something called Mounjaro. So what they are is a GLP-1 receptor agonist. And what does that mean? Well, what does it actually do? Basically, it mimics a hormone that your gut naturally produces to give you a feeling of fullness. So ultimately, it's an appetite suppressant. So you're not hungry, so you don't eat, and because you don't eat, you lose weight. That's as complicated as it is, really. It's not a fat burner or a metabolism booster. It's an appetite suppressant. And it's a very effective one. Does it work? Yeah. The clinical evidence is solid. People lose meaningful amounts of weight on these drugs. And the clinical trials showed that against a placebo, the weight loss was accelerated. There was larger quantities of weight loss achieved through being on the drug, and in some cases even greater weight loss when they were using something like Wegovy over Ozempic, because Wegovy has a slightly higher dosage, so it suppresses the appetite even further. There's also these other positive side effects, which is a reduction in cardiovascular health risks, can also potentially help with kidney disease. And there's also, interestingly for me, as an addict, some recent studies showing that GLP-1s can also help suppress the appetite for alcohol, so they can support sobriety, which is a very interesting positive side effect of these and a potential other use for it. Arguably, a better use for it. But maybe that's a conversation for another day, because I don't want to split the audience. Here's, however, where it gets a bit complicated. It works while you're on it. Absolutely no question about that. The issue is what happens when you stop taking it. And the research is pretty clear on this. You're going to gain the weight back. Not necessarily all of it, granted, but a significant portion of the weight that you've lost in studies has shown goes back on. And the reason for this is really quite simple. The drug was there to suppress your appetite. It wasn't there to teach you how to eat well, how to put a plate of food together, how to increase activity, how to improve sleep, how to include structured exercise in your daily or your weekly routine. It didn't actually change any of the fundamental habits and actions that have led to these people being in a position where they need to suppress appetite and lose weight so desperately. So all that's going to happen is once they stop, because none of those issues have been addressed, they're just going to end up back where they were. And that's not me trying to scaremonger. That's just what the evidence shows. Like, the weight will come back on. A significant portion of it will come back on if you don't address the underlying issues that have caused you to end up in this position in the first place. There's another thing to consider as well with any of these GLP-1s is the side effects, which are and can be rather unpleasant. Most common is nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and they're particularly prevalent when you are just starting or increasing a dosage of the said drug. And it does actually reduce after that initial period for some. For others, however, it can continue and become quite significant. One of the other risks that isn't actually fully confirmed yet, but in animal control studies with animals, there was also a concern, well, evidence shown of thyroid tumours, which are rather unpleasant. Some other confirmed side effect cases can also include pancreatitis, gallbladders. There's a specific and rather unique eye issue that can lead to blindness. And just FYI, there's a number of lawsuits currently in situ. That's the wrong expression. In process. There are, you know what I'm trying to say, surrounding all of these as far as people that have received these side effects from taking the GLP-1 drugs and are currently seeking medical compensation for the underlying issues that they've been left with since having taken the drug. So it's not me scaremongering, this is me just offering current and approved facts surrounding the potential side effects of taking these drugs. And this isn't me sat here telling you not to take it. This is me just trying to make sure that if you do decide to do it, it's an informed choice and you have the education and the information to then make an informed decision about it. Now, I'm not anti-Ozempic, and I need to be really clear about that. For people with significant obesity, it can be an incredibly useful tool to help get some of that weight off and reduce some of these health markers that are elevated or in serious risk of causing more long-term harm. So it can be potentially life-saving, and that's not to be undermined by the association it has specifically with weight loss. It can alter someone's life significantly better and allow them to continue living. So that's why I'm not anti-Ozempics, GLP-1s or Wegovy's. But here's my issue with the conversations around it. It's being marketed and people are taking it as a shortcut, specifically something like Wegovy. And it's just seemingly a way to kind of skip the hard bit of naturally losing weight through making improvements in your overall health and lifestyle. And it is the hard bit. Like when you're exhausted, when you're working full time, when you're looking after kids, when you're a sole carer, when you've got additional stress left, right, and center, trying to take that time to focus on you and actually make positive changes is fucking hard. Like it is, it's hard. So I understand the appeal of being able to cut that out of the equation. But as I said earlier, you will only lose the weight whilst you're taking it. Once you stop taking it, if you haven't then addressed all the issues that you didn't have time for to address, which is why you took the drug in the first place, you're just going to end up back where you were, but skinned. So you'll be fat and skint, is the short summary of what will happen, potentially. Because I am trying to be as diplomatic and as on the fence about this as possible. I can see its benefits. I can see the rewards. I can see and understand why people take it. And I think if it is an informed choice to take it, and if it is because of severe obesity and stuff, but it's only a tool to be used alongside the hard bit, to be used alongside making positive changes. When I worked in the NHS, my primary role, I was a health and wellbeing coach within the NHS for a number of years. And I've actually brought a lot of that into my PT coaching, but that's neither here nor there. But my role was to educate and inform and empower patients to take control of their own health and well-being, whilst using, in some cases, drugs to support that. Drugs to give them the kickstart, to take them down on the scales, to start instantly reducing risks that were associated through their weight and the cardiovascular health and their physical health. My job wasn't to give medication. My job was to work alongside medication for a lot of people so that they didn't become reliant on said medication. And once they could stop it, they had the tools necessary to either continue the journey without the need for drugs, or they'd already reached where they needed to be. And then it was just a question of staying there. That was my role. So I'm not anti it, but I am anti just it. If you're just taking these drugs without addressing everything else, that's where I hold issue. The drug doesn't fix relationships with food, relationships with exercise, relationships with yourself. It's not going to change any of that. It's just going to force you, in some respects, to lose weight. But it doesn't mean when you get out the other side that you're going to love yourself anymore, that you're going to be able to care for yourself any better, that your relationship with food and exercise is improved in any way whatsoever. So is Ozempic a miracle? No. Is it cheating? Also, no. That's a bit of a stupid framing and it helps nobody. Is it a tool that can help? Absolutely. Is it a tool that has real risks and isn't a substitute for actually changing your dietary, lifestyle and health goals, attitudes and actions? Yes, is the short, honest answer. As always, if you are considering it, please don't take anything I've said as gospel. Always go and see your GP, speak to your doctor, find out if it's going to be an appropriate and viable drug for you to take to help you. And if you need some support in all of the other stuff, whilst not only you're on it, but if you're deciding to come off it and you recognize and acknowledge that you haven't changed anything else, then just drop me a message, because I'd be more than happy to help, have a conversation, a non-judgmental one, and talk through how I might be able to help. That was my little plug at the end, by the way. Very subtle, I thought, because throughout it I've tried to be as informative and educational as I can without passing too much opinion. There has been some opinion, but not too much. And then a cheeky little plug at the end. I like that. Anyway, subscribe. Speak soon. Bye.